𝗪𝗡𝗧𝗛𝗪𝗏𝗧 at New York City migrant shelter, they are targeting folks in Times Square. That is not exactly a, hey, let's go to Times Square recommendation, is it? No, it doesn't exactly make you think, hey, I think I want to go there and hang out. Yeah, just, put my wallet in my front pocket. It should be fine, right? And they're getting away with it because they're underage and they've got sanctuary city status. This is nuts. Let's get into it. Here we go. So we got a brutal crew of 𝗪𝗡𝗧𝗛𝗪𝗏𝗧 migrant gangbangers at a city-funded Manhattan shelter are pulling off armed robberies in Times Square, and they're getting away with it, officials and sources said. Nearly 24 young migrant thugs, some as young as 11 years old, are part of a dangerous asylum-seeking brat pack that's graduated from purse snatchings, that's nice, to gunpoint heists targeting New Yorkers and tourists alike, a top New York City Police Department official told the Post. And because they're underage and because they've got the right status, they ain't going nowhere. They got to commit some kind of horrific crime. They got to murder somebody before they're going to do any time. And even then, probably won't be much. Will they get deported? Oh, heavens no. We're not deporting anybody, especially not in New York City. They're not doing any of that. No, I want to abide by, even though Eric Adams is in the process of being bounced out of there. What do you think will happen with that? His indictment. Some shady. All this stuff is so shady. Yeah. Diddy, Sean Puffy Combs, Eric Adams. Yeah. They're managing to stay out of jail because of their ages and the Empire State's lenient criminal justice laws and sanctuary city status. Let's not forget that. So Detective Bureau Assistant Chief Jason Savino said, you have individuals that are brazen, Savino said. We know they have access to guns, evident by the fact that they have done gunpoint robberies, and they've been brazen enough to showcase pistols in and around social media. They don't care. They are literally above the law. One of the stories I was watching this weekend was a Nick Johnson video of basically the, inundation of illegals into the, southern states, Alabama being one of them. And I was watching a pastor talk about the fact of, I can't remember if it was him, but somebody was saying, got a lot of people that have guns here. It's an open carry state. They're not going to put up with a lot of the shenanigans. And the pastor was saying, why are they putting these folks into our communities knowing that this probably isn't going to go well? Why is the federal government doing this on purpose? Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Makes me wonder all the time. Like, what are we doing here? Why'd we bring in 10 million, 15 million illegals into the country and just, go about your business? Here's a little piece of paper. It's got a date on it. It's your court date, 2031. Come back around. We'll talk to you about, your immigration and see if we can get you some of that amnesty we talked about. This is our first formulated group that we found, where this group of about 20 individuals that in pack format hang out every day. They post on social media. They boast about their crew. Chief said, you see little pickpockets in and around Times Square and in and around the shelters. It's a crew. I mean, this is crime is longstanding. I mean, this is not the first time that a bunch of illegals have done this kind of thing. But when it's affiliated directly with a Venezuelan prison gang, I was studying up on that this past weekend as well. They came out of a prison where the Venezuelan government had basically just given up. And so the prisoners ran their own prison. They had restaurants in there. They had chefs in there. They had a zoo. They had a petting zoo. They had a gymnasium. And they've got everything, right? I mean, they've just got everything. And is it shocking? Is it shocking that when Venezuela, turned out all the prisons, that a bunch of the members make their way to the United States, which has wildly easy on immigration laws, specifically in the sanctuary cities? Is this shocking? No, it's not shocking at all. It's like, what? But why are we doing it? What is the point? What is the point here? Let me know in the comments what you think the point is. But as far as a true threshold, it's been limited to shelters, calling themselves Los Diablos de la 42, Spanish for Little Devils of 42nd Street. The crew of about 21 gang members has been busted for 50 separate incidents, and yet not one is behind bars, Serino said. It's just not shocking, is it? We know who's committing the crimes. We don't want to arrest them because, sanctuary status, we can't do that. That doesn't look good. That's not good for the image of New York City. We're a sanctuary city, and by gosh, we're going to let these folks do their thing, including the crimes we're talking about here. They committed the robberies at all the sexy places in and around Central Park, in and around Times Square, in and around transit, he said, and targeting tourists. That can't be good for tourism in New York City. But do people just go there and go, oh, you know what? I mean, a little bit of mugging, that's almost like a souvenir you take away from New York City. I know a lot of people that love to go to New York City. They love the food. They love all that, but they haven't been mugged either, right? It's like, what's a conservative? And I've told this joke before. It's a liberal who just got mugged. And I think it's a good one. I think it's a pretty funny one. So they started a kind of graduation of sorts and progression where originally it started as purse snatches, then went to strong-armed robberies, and then started brandishing knives in a pack format. Also worrisome from New York's finest is the possibility that an all-out gang war could erupt between 𝗪𝗓𝗪𝗏 and one of the Big Apple's most notorious gangs, the Latin Kings. So you got to remember, you got to think, all these areas where these illegals are going in, they're not the only gang in town. And they're the newest, not the oldest. So there's going to be turf wars. And we've already got those turf wars going in Chicago, right? I mean, that's just a known quantity. You got so many shootings in Chicago, though, that you can't work out which one is which and which one do we categorize where. According to authorities, a dispute between the two gangs dates back several years to the alleged murder of a 𝗪𝗓𝗪𝗏 member by a Latin king, with the feud still a sore point. 𝗪𝗓𝗪𝗏, which grew out of the poverty and corruption that's long plagued Venezuela, established a criminal foothold in 5 boroughs in little more than a year. These guys are going gangbusters. If you're new to Reasonable People, welcome. We have been covering this story for a long, long time before anybody else was really going hard on the 𝗪𝗓𝗪𝗏. But you could just see the storyline happening. You got a prison gang out of Venezuela, and Venezuela's dumped everybody out of their country, and they want to get rid of everybody, right? Head on down the road. And so you've got folks who come here without much of a skill set other than criminal enterprise. Criminal enterprise, when you're protected in the United States, that's a good thing. And that's what they're exploiting. They're literally exploiting that. Meanwhile, you got millions of people, never mind slowing down the illegal crossings in the southern border. The damage has already been done. You've already literally got millions and millions and millions of people that shouldn't be here that have never been vetted, that are, waiting on their time in court. And when they get a hearing, maybe they'll get permanent residency. Who knows? All that stuff is happening. And my whole thing is the United States, we can't solve the world's problems. We got enough of our own. And so now you're taking away resources from those who are legit in the United States, maybe born and raised here, maybe paid into the tax system. They're having money go to all these other things, like the flooding we've just had. Some massive, massive examples of flooding. But there's all this talk of, FEMA money might run out. It's very limited. FEMA money might run out. How many billion did we just send to Ukraine? How many billion have we sent to Israel? How many billion? New York City is going to spend $2.2 billion, I think, on just housing in the next year. I mean, the numbers are staggering. Huge, huge numbers. But these sanctuary cities, by George, this is what they wanted to do. Now it's just biting them in the ass. 𝗪𝗓𝗪𝗏, which grew out of the property, we read about that. Law enforcement sources said gang members had among the millions of asylum seekers who crossed the U.S. border with Mexico since 2022. They scattered throughout the country. So we obviously know they're in New York City, and that's their first stop, right, for a lot of these folks. But they're as far west as Portland, and you know damn well they're here in Seattle. So you've gone coast to coast, and, we know they're down in Texas. You got El Paso, you got hotels there that have been taken over. You got Aurora, Colorado. And what to me is really interesting is how much work the mainstream media puts into, they didn't take over the entire city. Trump was lying. Yeah, but they took over 3 known complexes in Aurora. Think about that. And one of those complexes is 199 units. These are big apartments. This isn't a fourplex. This isn't a quad, right? These are hundreds of units. And an illegal prison gang from Venezuela has taken over land in the United States. That's the story, period. Whether or not they took over the whole city doesn't really matter. They took over 3 complexes and they were operating like that. And they're operating in multiple areas. They had the hotel in El Paso, Texas. It got shut down because it was a known bed of prostitution. So what's up with all the human trafficking going on in the United States? We've got it going on in Aurora Avenue North in Seattle. It's just a hotbed of prostitution. 𝗪𝗓𝗪𝗧𝗛𝗓, one of their big thing is human trafficking and, prostitution. And what they do is they put into place their own folks from Venezuela who are very vulnerable because maybe they don't have, a job. They don't have a work visa. They don't have family that they can rely upon. And the amount of money that it costs for them to get into the country, oftentimes illegally, by, one of the cartels, they got to pay that off. And so a lot of them pay it off by working it off in prostitution. And these, 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪, that's their bread and butter is human trafficking. And yet, so much in what the media is like, they didn't take over the whole city, just 3 apartment complexes. It's all good. And you're left with, but how many millions of these folks came into the United States and we had just expect things to work out hunky-dory? No, that's not the case. You got a bunch of stories like this going on. This next sentence is interesting. Members are told to get distinctive tattoos that mark them as members, with the body art typically including, we got anchors, we got clocks, we got crowns, and phrases that include the word guerrero, which means warrior in Spanish, but also plays respects to Hector Nino Guerrero, the leader of the gang in Venezuela. The gang tats also tend to feature the number 23, or NBA star Michael Jordan and LeBron James, both of whom wear the number on their jerseys, while others include images of bulls, seemingly a shout out to the Chicago Bulls basketball team, a city where 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 has flourished. Because they've got Let's Go Brandon Johnson, and he is just all about the illegals. All right, let's house them. Let's feed them. Let's put them into our school system, even though we can't take care of our own residents. Can't take care of your own residents. I've covered a ton of the shenanigans that have happened in Dalton and Township of Thornton in South Chicago, suburban Chicago, southern Chicago. And in the village of Dalton, they got 20,000 people. 20% of those folks live below the poverty line, 90% of those 20% are Black. Think they'd like some handouts? Think they'd like some stuff? Think they'd like some free stuff? Yeah, probably. But no, you're going to give them the 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 because that's just what we're doing. In New York, gang members exploited the city's migrant shelter system, running robbery crews as well as trafficking drugs, guns, and sex workers under the noses of private security guards, according to sources. Well, even if somebody gets busted there, unless it's an egregious enough crime, they're not going to do any real time. Because they're not working with ICE. They're not working with, customs and immigration. Just not. So when you've got these just real disconnects going on, as well as, hey, let's take a community, in Springfield, Ohio. Let's take a community of 60,000 people and let's place 20,000 Haitians into that community. And we'll just kind of see how it goes. How do you think that's going to go? Just not all that well. Not all that swimmingly. And the local residents, those who have been there, have a right to complain. They've got a right to bitch. Hey, what are you doing to our community? What's up with this? Yeah. But, it just seems like so much of this, it's just being shoved down our throat. It's just being shoved down our throat. Hey, here, we got a little more for you. Why don't you take that and see how that works out? And it doesn't work out. Somebody screams, hey, they're eating our ducks. I love those memes with Trump. They're eating the cats. And they are. We know they are. I mean, Chile, they had to put laws onto the books, basically outlining you can't eat all the pets. And that was specifically for their Haitian communities. They put laws on the books. Hey, you know what? Kitty cats are kitty cats. You can't eat them, guys. Can't eat them. Dogs, also off limits. Yeah, parakeets, eat all the parakeets you want. Who gives an F about the parakeets? No, I don't know. But this whole notion that you put 20,000 Haitians into a community and they see a bunch of ducks and they see a bunch of geese and where they come from, that's called protein. And, saying, well, we're in America now, so I don't think we're going to, we won't eat the pet. Why wouldn't they is the real question. Why wouldn't they? So that's been going on, but you just don't have any actual hardcore visible proof of, hey, this guy stole that duck and that goose from Snyder Park in Springfield, Ohio. Here he is, killing them, he's taking their head off. Here he is gutting them. Here he is putting them onto his blue barbecue, which was almost a story, right? We had a picture of a blue barbecue that had what looked like to be a duck-ish creature on the grill, just being, kill them and grill them. Kill them and grill them. Is that so shocking? No. Is it shocking that kids without much to do, who aren't going to be going to school, are running around New York City stealing from people? No, because it makes absolute sense, because they are literally protected, not only by their age, but their sanctuary status. Yeah, they came here and I'm just going to let you guys do whatever the F you want, but hey, try and stay out of trouble, kids. Yeah, that's fine. Give me your wallet. Give me your cell phone. Oh, wow. Teaching them young these days, right? It's crazy. It's nuts. But you see these stories just all the time. One of the other stories that I was looking at was the story about how this is impacting the school system. I mean, you have dumped, 500,000 illegal kids into the school system across the United States? I mean, it's crazy numbers. And you expect the school system, which was already overloaded, the public school system, which was already wildly overloaded, to somehow just, deal with it? How's that going? Teachers, let me know. Let me know in the comments. How's that going? Because I get stories about that every now and then. I had a class with 19 kids. Now I got 27. Those extra 8, they don't speak a lick of English. So, I'm teaching to the lowest common denominator and we are falling behind. A lot of stories like that going on out there because of stuff that, to me, it's like, you know what? A lot of this could have been avoided with some holding back on just letting millions of people come across that southern border and now the northern border. Just a little bit of holdback. Maybe go back those 94 executive orders that the Biden administration did regarding immigration, regarding the southern border policy. Maybe look at some of those and go back to what Trump had going on. All right. Or do we just wait for November 7th to November, whatever it is? November 7th is my birthday. November 5th, I think, is day we vote, right? Or votes get counted. Start to get counted. It's election day. It's election day. We wait for that? Yeah, I'm waiting. See you on the next one. Thanks for being here. We'll catch up soon. Bye for now.